Okay, so here's the first of the macro, or the new macro ones anyway, and not recycled one. So let's have a go at supply side policies. Supply side policies is something that students, for some reason, don't like, and I never really got it. At their heart, and the idea behind supply side policy is pretty simple. What you're trying to do is to increase potential growth. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to increase the PPF, so shift out your production possibility frontier to the right, say capital goods and consumer goods, or you're trying to increase the rate of growth of long run aggregate supply, from kind of LRAS 1 to LRAS 2. So why would you want to do that? Well, there are kind of two or three basic reasons. So one is it helps to allow non-inflationary growth. That's probably the key behind it. So if that's GDP, that's the price level. That's aggregate supply. If aggregate demand is rising, and you haven't got any potential growth, then obviously eventually, we start to approach full employment. And we start running short of resources, costs start to rise, it's easier for firms to put prices up, and inflation starts to build. Whereas, if you've got potential growth at the same time, because firms are becoming more efficient, or you've got more resources available, we can prevent inflation. So instead of going there, and we get a much more steady increase in the price level, because we've got higher productivity, so firms don't need to increase prices, or we've got more workers coming in, which holds down wage increases, and so on. So that's the key thing. And linked to that then is this idea that actually a lot of supply side policies are about helping or forcing firms to become more efficient. So therefore, a second reason for it is that it helps to increase productivity. And as a result of which, that can boost the UK economy's international competitiveness. So what we're saying is that it promotes potential growth, it increases our competitiveness, it helps to prevent inflation. And all of those things, are pretty desirable. And some people see supply side policies as the magic bullet. So what is it that do these things? So supply side policies, in beer and glass terms, for those of you that know that model, it's an increase in the size of the glass, it's an increase in potential. And the way in which most of these policies work, is their goal, pretty much, is to support and challenge businesses. To be more efficient and effective. So we can both provide support for those businesses, and we can also challenge them. And the way in which I see supply side policies as working is that what they're trying to do is to increase, the way in which we're going to support and challenge businesses is to increase, or the impact is going to be to increase the quantity and the quality and the efficiency of use of our factors of production. Land, labour, capital, and so on and so forth. So the support part is this idea that what we're going to do is we're going to provide higher quality and more plentiful factors of production, and then we're going to challenge businesses to ensure that they use them efficiently. And that's how I see supply side policies working. And in terms of kind of looking a bit more detail in terms of how they work, the way I see them working is through one, labour market reforms, which is one of our factors of production. Two, capital market reforms to try to increase investment. And three, product market reforms. Product markets are just literally that, the market for products, the market for cars, the market for marker pens, and so on. So product market reforms, where the goal there is to try to increase competition so that firms are challenged to use resources more effectively. So we take them in turn. If we take labour market reforms first of all, what we're trying to do here is we're trying to increase the quantity of labour. So we could do that. We could do that through childcare reforms, for example. That would be an example. They're saying in the States at the moment, that one of the reasons they can't rapidly increase employment after coronavirus is that all the childcare provision is still shut. So both parents are unable to go out to work. That's a supportive supply side policy, or you could kind of say I'm going to cut unemployment benefit if you think there's a large pool of workers out there who are just being lazy. So we're trying. We could relax immigration laws, and so on. So that would increase the total pool of labour, which would allow firms to have more factory production and will put downward pressure on wages. Or we could try and increase the quality of labour. So that's classically kind of education and training, although how good the government is at knowing what the needs of the private sector are is open to question. That would be a classic example. Look at the notes for other examples. Or we could try to increase the efficiency of use of labour, and that might involve things like decreasing trade union power, so that firms can force workers to work more flexibly, or things like 0 hours contracts, which again allows firms to kind of use workers when they want and not use them when they don't want. So all of those would mean a better, more flexible and more plentiful supply of labour, which would support potential growth. If we take our second example, so our second example was capital market policies. So these are policies, that are designed to, capital market reforms. The goal here is to increase investment. So not a cut in interest rates. I mean, a cut in interest rates will increase investment, but really the focus of interest rates is that's a demand side policy. So the focus of interest rates is to increase aggregate demand. So these things, they tend often to be fiscal reforms here. So often, a classic example would be something like a decrease in corporation tax. Which does increase aggregate demand, but its real goal, is to kind of focus on, long-term success, attracting FDI, getting existing firms to invest more, and so on. Or kind of infrastructure building, where again you're trying to encourage firms to, invest. And again, you can come up with others. Since you've studied development economics, you've probably looked at things like EPI, where the goal of governments is to get investment to increase, and they've done that in a variety of ways. And then finally, obvious supply side policies. You've got product market reforms, and that's all about making markets more competitive. That's all about an increase in the level of competition. And that involves things like privatisation, for example, so trying to reduce the role of the state, so that there are private sector firms, that have incentives to make profits, to expand, to be efficient. Deregulation, so that we reduce restrictions on markets, so that more firms can enter, so it reduces barriers to entry, that type of stuff. So again, that forces firms to be more efficient. Kind of free trade. So opening up your borders to trade, local firms, domestic firms have to compete with international ones. And again, they're forced to be more efficient. So the first two are trying to encourage firms to make better use of labour, to have better labour, to invest. And the last set is creating an environment in which they're forced to invest. They're forced to become more efficient, forced to become more productive. And therefore, we have better factors of production, which are used more efficiently, and therefore that creates the potential growth that we were talking about before. In terms of their limitations, there are many. Everybody thinks they're a kind of magic bullet. A lot of these things are very long term. But don't just say there are time lags. Explain why there are bloody time lags. So if you want to build infrastructure, it takes years and years and years. Cutting corporation tax doesn't mean that firms immediately invest. It's obviously the case. That firms want to plan out their investment. Kind of improving education and training takes years and years to have any effect. Also, there's a risk of government failure. So governments aren't necessarily that great at knowing exactly what to do. there are certain types of supply side policies that increase inequality. So when we were looking at some of the labour market ones, we said reducing trade union power, cutting unemployment benefits, that type of stuff, may have unexpected side effects. So remember that when you're evaluating, you're always looking at the one hand the effectiveness of policies, and on the other hand their side effects. If you look at the notes, that go with the video, just alongside, you'll see lots of other things. So I hope that's reasonably clear. Any questions, just send me a message through Teams.